What's good, everybody? It's your man B-Dub coming live at you. Another True Players podcast episode live tonight. We're going to talk about the should a woman be entitled to child support payments if she actively deprives her baby father from seeing his child. I got my brother, Joey G, joining with me. I got a special guest host coming on, my man Sean from Down the Den podcast, join us on the podcast. So stay tuned. We're going to come at you soon. What's good, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. Joey G, my man Sean from Down the Den podcast. Let's start with we start with Sean here. Introduce himself to the people on the True Players podcast.
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you guys for having me. It's your boy Sean Mars Marshall, Down in the Den After Dark, Cooking with Mars, all of the other acronyms that go with the name here on the True Players. I'm happy to be here.
And my brother Joe G represent, man.
Hey, what's going on? This is Joey G. We back at it again. Here's another one. Your host of Beer Convo and Family, also co-host on True Players podcast. We back at it again doing this thing. I can't wait to get into this one. We have so much commentary for this. Mm-hmm. We have so much commentary.
Absolutely. Here on the True Players podcast, we can't leave the beer alone, but on Beer Convo and Family, it's all beers, or you're not on the show. But definitely
let's get started right now. But I'll get a little beer a little bit later.
Got you. But definitely, this podcast, like I said before the intro came on, we're talking about should a woman be entitled to child support payments if she deprives the baby daddy of seeing the child. This is a very interesting subject, a subject that's not been talked about a lot, if not at any time. We only hear about the deadbeat fathers. Right. We only hear about the fathers who don't do nothing for their children and things like that. And it's about time we had to speak on the other side, because as much as you speak about deadbeat fathers, you should speak about toxic mothers. And let me start with Sean. What do you think about that situation?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Toxic mothers usually come from toxic relationships, and they have toxic children. It is a generational curse, and it's a real thing. But when we're talking about child support, unfortunately, is looked at as an investment for so many people, and it's for the child. You know, Mars loves the kids, and I love the kids. I want them to have everything they need, but it's not for hair, it's not for nails, it's not for car payments, it's not for cables, not for electricity, it's not for new outfits. It's for children. And when you have a binding agreement, I pay X amount of dollars per month to take care of my responsibility. It comes with certain things, and that's being able to raise my child. So if you are actively defying a court order, I look at this contract. Before I got into podcasting, I had a corporate job in contract law, and it's all about a contract. So if I'm giving you X amount of dollars, I need something from my contract, and that's me being able to see and raise and mold my child. It's a 50-50 deal. So if you're not getting your end of the bargain, then we can't have them. You can't be paid until you're forced to follow your end of the contract. And it's really that simple.
Got you. And what do you think about that, Joe G?
I mean, he was on point with everything that he said. I agree wholeheartedly with what he said. It is a binding contract between both parties. I mean, there's an obligation for the child, nothing else. All
Mhm.
the extra stuff that you're doing with the money, that's not what it was intended for. When they set up the program was intended for to split what both parents make, quote unquote, set amount of money, and with the set amount of children that they had. So it was set up in that fashion. But no, if you're going to take advantage of the system, it should be a void contract. A void of contract that should be disputed, or you should be able to dispute it in those instances, I should say.
Absolutely. But the thing is that we spoke. If anybody was talking about the first episode of Child Support Part One, that was done back in 2019. When I posted this very question, it was in February of 2019. And me and Joe, we were talking about, listen, we need to do a podcast about this particular question.
Right.
And it's bad. I'm sad not to have the child support expert on the podcast because of little philosophical differences between him and I. He wanted to dictate how the podcast should be run. And, when you're on the show, you can't dictate to me how my podcast is going to run. It's not fair, and it's not really conducive to my listeners. And especially when I'm trying to ask you questions about the child support, you tell me refer to your videos. How do you educate my people who's watching the podcast how to handle the situation? You tell them to go to your video and you're on my podcast. Makes no sense. But anyway, it's like I said, it's a serious situation. I find that when we talk about Joey, the first child support episode, we spoke about how the child support in itself is a debt collection agency. It's not a government ran situation. It's a debt collection agency.
Yes.
Right.
In which, if you don't pay, you could go to jail for not paying child support.
Right. It's outside of the federal realm, federal and state realm.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different entity. It's kind of like the people that are collecting the money for the banks.
Right.
It's kind of like that same thing.
And let me tell you, I used to work in contract law, the insurance industry, and I would see these child support liens come in. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes it brought a little pleasure to my heart because you would see these people about to get this big settlement, and they're faking these injuries. They're faking it.
Mm-hmm.
And the child support lien comes in and takes all of that money. So I've seen it firsthand. They're ruthless. They will find you and they will take everything from you. But it's still a situation where I was reading Blake Griffin. He was paying something absorbent, like $280,000 a month for child support for one kid.
Right.
Who the hell needs $280,000 a month to survive, especially a child that plays with boxes and can't read?
Right.
No one who can't read deserves $280,000 a month. That's always been my motto. So see that where people are using child support as a come up. And I've always thought it's a 50-50 thing. If you want little Billy to go to the finest school, cool, I got my half.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have your half? If you don't, then he needs to go to this public school like I did. I turned out fine. So it
ain't gonna hurt nobody.
It's not gonna hurt somebody. So you get a swirly once in a while, you'll be fine. But it's certainly a situation where people are using child support as a come up, and I have a huge problem with that.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue that I have with the child support agency is that it's a lot of people take advantage of that system. They're taking advantage of it. They're utilizing as a tool to keep somebody in check. To be honest with you, you don't want to be a part of my life. Oh, I'm gonna make you be a part of my life, and you're gonna give me my money. Where they do that at?
But the thing is that if you're two consenting adults, yes, you have a child together. You should be two consenting adults to work out a plan of how to raise a child without being through the court system, without being through the agency of providing a child support. And I feel that a lot of women who get scorned, they probably be in love with their baby father. They want to stick him in the ass because he left her, and not realizing that their selfish mentality hurts the child, not the man.
It does.
I mean, actually, it hurts the man and the child, not her.
Right.
But she's scorned and she wants to get back all of this thing instead of being adults and hashing it out, get a contract agreement, notarize it without going through the courts. Now, if he doesn't come up with his child support, then you have the ammunition to go to court because you have a signed, notarized statement of what you agreed upon independently between the two of you.
That's a part of the co-parenting thing.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the co-parenting before. We've talked about co-parenting, and co-parenting is a big thing. It should be a big thing, regardless of you and your child's partner don't get along, or you do get along. Y'all have to coexist for that child. Bottom line, that child needs to be taken care of. The support of that child is necessary, whether it's financially or just being a stable pillar in their life. That's necessary. The obstacles that are put in front of you for not paying the child support due to your circumstances of financial, not having a job, or can't get a job, maybe you have a felony, or you have obstacles in your life preventing you from being that financial support system. It shouldn't deprive you of being able to see and be in that child's life.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be penalized in those situations. There should be some type of help necessary to get you into whatever job program, whatever educational thing that you need to help provide for that child. But to leave that person stranded without nothing and then come back later, constantly tax them, put them in jail. Now you're taking away from everybody. And once again, the child is suffering, the father's suffering.
Well, I mean, and you can get even deeper with that. If you, that's a whole episode. That's a whole series. How, the system, when people say, oh, the system is broken, it's broken. It's not. It's designed perfectly to separate families. So throwing someone in jail for child support, which I always thought was ironic, because if the couple was married,
right,
and the couple was fine, I love my dad to death, but he has never given me lunch money. Ever. If my parents have been married 50 years, and I could never say, hey, Dad, can I get $5 for lunch? I'm like, boy, you got food here. You got lights, don't you? So he didn't have to pay anything. He paid for the household, but he didn't do the extras, and that's fine. I didn't expect that. But you're going to penalize someone that's not in the house because they can't provide. And parenting is more than just financial. Because if that's the case, do housewives who may not work, do they contribute to the child? Of course they do. They're extremely important. They may not financially provide anything to the child, but they provide a foundation to make that child into a good adult. So breaking up families over someone's finance, especially someone that wants to be in the child's life, is completely unacceptable, period. Because that guidance, there's rich kids that have been given everything, that would have loved to just had their dad at a baseball game.
Right.
Dad gave everything financially, and they would tell you my dad's a shitty father. And then there's people like me who I love my dad to death. And like I said, he wasn't out buying me stuff. He used to take me to the thrift store, and we used to call it the dirty truck store. And my dad was so smart, he would buy broken G.I. Joes and told me they were war heroes. I was like, Dad, why does this G.I. Joe not have a leg? He's like, oh, this is a limited edition. These are war heroes. He got his leg blown off in the war. I was like, oh, snap, I got war heroes. So he bought a whole bag of toys for $0.25, and it was junk. But I was the happiest kid in the world because I had that time with my father. So it comes back to choices. Do you want to raise an individual that's going to actually help society one day? Or do you want to spite an ex because he didn't marry you? Or because he got remarried and now he has a whole nother family.
Right.
That comes back to choices, and that's a deeper conversation that we have to
Right.
have.
Absolutely.
I think that's the crux of the whole thing, picking your partner beforehand.
Message.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny, guys? I'm gonna leave this female anonymous.
Okay.
She told me maybe guys should maybe guys should use condoms more instead of trying to go bareback in a female. And I looked at her and I was like, okay, but there is plan B, and you could also tell the man to get the hell off you when he goes inside you bareback as well. Not for nothing. We all like bareback sex, you know. If it's good, it's good. But whether you get there's always a consequence that happens afterwards, and you can't. It's not a blame just the man for that. It takes two to make a baby. It takes two to take that responsibility for that action as well. And like I said, the having a father, an active father in a child's life is very important. Mm-hmm. One for the daughter, that's her first boyfriend. If you don't realize that, that's her first boyfriend. He sets the tone of how the father sets the tone of the type of guys that she will date in the future and eventually marry. Now, the boy side, the father's there to train him how to be a gentleman, how to take care of his woman, how to handle the responsibilities in the household. Most importantly, how to be a man. And the problem is, in this society that we live in, we got a lot of man-chinas right now. Masculinity is gone. It's all about being feminine. So that's how important.
What do you call that? What do you call that? Sensitive.
Sensitive, yes.
They're overly sensitive.
Yes.
They're overly sensitive. What do you call that? There's a word for that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've heard it.
Van started to say, "You need a man." You know, and it's funny because, you know, we talk about norms of masculinity and roles, and once again, that's a whole nother conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think when people say, "Oh, there's an attack on masculinity," no, there's an attack on toxic masculinity. There's nothing wrong with being masculine.
Right.
It's when you're toxic anything, it becomes a problem. And I think that's where we need to have that conversation. It's not an attack on being a gentleman and opening the door for someone, or opening a chair, or paying a bill now and then. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the toxic where you want to fight everyone because you felt you've been slated, right, or you want to treat a woman a certain way because you feel it gives you some type of energy. That's a problem with that, and that's something that we can talk about. But that's not all of us. In fact, that's not most of us. That's the rarity. And those people usually have issues because they didn't have that father. So it's a cycle that goes back and back and back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me hit you guys on the flip side of that, too. You mentioned about holding doors and opening doors for females. And you notice a lot of females, when you open a door for them, they don't say thank you. They don't appreciate you. And they'll be the same ones complain about chivalry is dead. Now, if you had a father in your life, you appreciate when a man holds a door for you, holds your seat for you, and wait for you to sit down, and you'll say thank you. That's where the father comes in, to train her. Like, listen, if you want chivalry, you got to provide the proper etiquette and mannerisms to receive that chivalry and not discard it. And that's where a father comes in. A lot of people don't understand that process, and that's why we have, especially in our community, we have this situation going on. We got our children living life of love and hip hop, and now they think they should be, and that's just a show. That's just a reality show, and things like that, and entertainment. And I can tell you how many times I held doors for girls, thinking that I'm good. They automatically think a man's trying to holler at them, but not knowing that the man is trained. If he has a correct father in his life, he's trained to hold the door for a female, open the door for a female, let her walk in first. Right. A lot of these females don't understand that etiquette in this era. Let me know what you guys think about that.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's a rarity nowadays. I've always looked at it like if I give some money to someone that's on the street panhandling, somebody say, "Oh, they're just going to buy crack with that." It's not my business. He needs that crack today. Shit, he's on the street. I don't know, but I know I did the right thing, so I'm good with that. That's all I can worry about. Exactly. So when I hold the door, I've done that before, and I've held the door, and they just walk through like I'm the doorman, and I'm like, "Bro, do you see a red jacket on me? I'm the same. You work in the same building. You work beside me, bro. What are you doing?" It doesn't bother me because I'm just like, "Oh, you're going to be lonely for a really long time because I know you've already missed the boat. It's over for you. It's a wrap. You're never going to go beyond baby mama because you don't even have the bare minimum to be a basic good human being. Thank you." Those are basic things that we teach kindergartners. So it comes back to choices because I can't rescue a 30-year-old. You're done. You're done. You're done. Your years of development, you missed that boat. So I don't let it bother me if I hold the door or open the door or whatever it may be, and I don't get a thank you. I didn't do it for a thank you. I did it because I was raised right. That's how I look at it.
I got you. Fair point. Now, for all the ladies who think we're out here bashing women, we're not doing that. We did have a female co-host, but something happened to her and she's not joining us today. So I don't think we're coming at you guys, at least not yet. But anyway, what I was going to say is that families are being broken because of this child support situation.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
What, in your guys' opinion, what's the best way to handle the situation? How can we rise above it and keep our families together? I mean, they don't have to be married. Just because they're not a married couple doesn't mean the family's broken. The family's broken when the parents are not co-parenting. What do you guys think about that?
Number one, we need to take serious making a person how serious that is. We need to get back to that. Like, sex is great. Like you said, bare sex is even better. I was one of those people, rarities that waited until I was married before I had sex without a condom. I was that scared of teenage pregnancy growing up that if I wasn't strapped, I wasn't going to have. And then when I started talking to my friends and we were talking about the situation, I found out that I was really the rarity. They were like, "Well, so what do you do if you don't have one?" I was like, "Then I don't have sex that night." And they were like, "Pull out." I was like, "And that's why you have 7 kids." Your pull out game is weak, bro. So your pull out game apparently is horrible. So I literally waited until I was married to have that experience. Not saying that I didn't have premarital sex, I did. But I'm talking about to actually take the condom off. And then after that, I was like, "Oh crap, what?" No wonder, you start that. So it comes back to choices. We really have to say, are we really willing to have a child, male and female? Because when you're going in there bare, you're taking the risk, you're gambling, you're throwing that dice. We got to put our loins away, ladies and gentlemen. We got to start thinking with this. If we're going to make it and we're going to survive, we shouldn't be having this conversation in 2021. It's very easy to not get pregnant. Very easy to not get pregnant. A lot harder to get pregnant. So
that is not what the TV says.
First time, of course, but trust me, there are people out there, tons of families that can't have kids that have tried every day. It's not as easy, and there's science behind that. It's not easy. We're actually starting to decline in birth rates all around the globe. So it's not easy. So when you're out there just having children with people that you don't really know, to be the father, you're asking for 18 to probably 30 years of this person in your life. And that sounds like a prison sentence. If I'm not willing to be with someone 18 to 30 years, I'm not having a child with you, period. So we need to start making a human a little bit more seriously. We need to start wrapping up. We need to have plan Bs. We need to take responsibility, male and female, because at the end of the day, you can't run, ladies, you can't run off on that child. It's a part of you. It's against your nature. You're gambling. If you think a man won't go to the store for a pack of cigarettes and never come back, you're gambling, especially if you're having sex with someone that's just there to have sex with you. So you need to start making some choices when you're laying down and respect yourself. Respect yourself, male and female. And that goes for my fellas too. If you don't want this girl, all she got is a big booty and she can't put a sentence together, that's 6 minutes. Let's keep it real, brother. That 6 minutes is going to be great. But that 18 to 30 years might not be. So we need to start making some better, more informed choices. And that scared me. I thought about, man, I want to go to the go-kart track. I saw the video with the guy, I can't go to the party because I got to babysit Junior. And I was like, hell no, not for the kid. I'll have a kid when I'm ready to have a kid. So we need to start making that choice and stop letting our sex run us into driving us into poverty, driving us to going to jail for child support, driving us to making a kid that doesn't have mom and dad. So now this kid grows up to shoot up a school. We have to look at cause and effect, and the causation is always there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Now, let's just say the father is doing what he's supposed to do, providing the child baby formula, all that stuff, and he's even putting together a 529 plan for his child. He's out with the mother. He's doing everything possible to ensure that his child is on the right path of education, the right path of living the life that he wants for his child. And he gets taken to court for child support. How do you guys feel about that? And why there's times the court does take that, depends on the judges. They do take that into account, but there's a lot of judges who are just as scornful as the mother who still slamming for that. How do you guys feel about this?
Most of them are biased. I'm gonna wait. I'll wait, and I want to hear his opinion first.
So number one, why do we have to give? If the kid needs milk, can't I just buy the milk? Mm-hmm. Do I have to get you money? We need to really start looking if this is best for the kid. Is just cutting a check really the best thing? I've always thought having a child was 50-50, and I know they take, this person is the breadwinner into account. I get it. But once again, if your budget isn't where my budget is, you can't dictate how I spend my money if my child's needs are being met. So I think you really need to start looking into giving people credit. I bet the rate of these pregnancies would go down if you could give a certificate for food. Here you go. My child needs to eat. Here's a gift card to Applebee's. 2 for $20. There you go. I bet these children would just stop. They would just vanish. We would just see that because people that look at it to come up, if you actually gave, it's kind of, once again, back to the hobo. You ever go to help a brother out, you see him on the street, and he's like, oh, I'm so hungry. And you're like, here, man, it's a sandwich. And he's like, I don't want that damn sandwich. I want some money. Mm-hmm. Bro, you said you were hungry. Here's a delicious sandwich. I want the money. You didn't want the sandwich. You weren't hungry. You wanted the weed, the crack, the liquor, whatever you want to be. So I look at it the same way. No, I'm not paying to get your hair done. But if my child needs to go to school, send me my invoice and I'll give you my 50% or whatever it needs to be. That's how it should be. And I guarantee that will crack down on a lot of these kids just being born without having both parents in the house because it's no longer a game. It's no longer a come up.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I said the biggest problem is that they just take the money and they give it. Now, in that situation, there's no accountability for that. There's no accountability. There's no record of what is being spent on that. Like he said, the hair, the nails, anything that they want, they could get with that money. And it's not really necessarily for that child if it's not within their thought process to do it. To be honest with you, if they see they want their nails done, their hair done, or they just want something that just came out, maybe a phone, maybe some shoes, whatever the case may be. I've seen all of that. I've been I've been privy to it. In a sense, I've contributed to it because money's being taken. Mm-hmm. What can you do about it? You can't fight it. You could point it out, but even the court to a certain degree, it comes back to that child. And whatever that child says, that's what the court is like. Okay, we'll just go with what they say. That's what they want to do. Then we're going with what the child says. And your point is invalid at that point. So regardless of a father trying to make the child's life better by taking them out of that situation and restructuring that whole situation, if the child doesn't want to go into that situation, the court's going to back that child and the mother, and it's thrown out. I've been there. I've done that. I had all the evidence I needed. And this is not to be spiteful. She knows this. It was not to be spiteful. It was just, I really wanted to help you in that situation. I felt like you had more children than you can provide for at the time. I could provide for this child at this time. My wife is willing to help provide for this child at the time. We have better circumstances. Why not? It just makes sense. Okay, you don't want to do that. We're willing to give you a set amount of money per month if we get off the child support system. An agreement between you and me. You'll get this amount of money every month. $300 to be fair. More than the court will give you. I'm talking about giving. You're going to receive that amount every month. Guaranteed. See, when they get the money, they take it. $300. Some for me, none for you. Here you go. Here's $50. Out of that 300 that you gave. See how that system works? But you wanted to be the smart one in the system. Oh, I'm going to put him on child support, get him for all his money, and this, that, and the third. But we're the ones, we're bashing women, right? We're the ones that bash women. You wanted to go outside and talk to somebody else about the money you need to receive. All right. You're asking me for money. Bet. How much you need? Oh, some money to provide for my children. I could do that. What's your situation look like at the home? Do you have food? Does everything else need? Do you need a job? Whatever the case may be. Oh, by the way, who's the father and why is it he's not in the life? Can I get his name? Let me write that down real quick. Make a couple calls. You're on the child support system now. Child support is like, I've been providing for this. I'm going to need that check.
And they take whatever they want to take.
They take whatever they want. And that's mob rule. Mob rule. Let's go mob rule. Go back in the day. Bookie on the street. You asked him for money. Oh, I'm not coming for you. I'm coming for him. He has the money. I know he has the money. And if he don't, he better get my money.
Facts.
That's it. That, like he said, 18 years, maybe 23, depending on your state. 23 years of child support in that same situation constantly. Now you're dealing with that system, trying to keep up with that. Now you're in and out of court, whatever the case may be. You may go to jail, you may come out. Now you have more taxes on top of that. Okay. All of that. Now, in between that, the struggle to just have visitation, the struggle just to have a common conversation, just to be like, hey, how are you doing? A nice casual conversation. Let me get my daughter so we can go over here. Well, why you got to go over here? Who's she going to be with? Oh, not with that one. Now we got to get into all this extra stuff. Rewind. Now we go all the way back to the beginning before you even decided you were going to go into that. It's all about choice. You chose poorly, both of you. On the woman's end, I'm going to say this. Just like a vampire, if you didn't invite him in your fucking home, none of that shit would have happened. It's your home. Your home. You open the door. Guess who came in waving the 4-4? I'm just being real about that situation. Shots were bust. They were all over the place. It got a little messy. Couldn't clean up the evidence. The DNA is in the genes.
Clubs shot up like Shine in 99. Absolutely.
I mean, I've always, this is out of character for me on the True Players podcast and for Beer Convo and Family. I've always played the back seat, but this is one of those conversations that it really touched home to me. It's one of those situations I was frustrated with because the other co-parent in the situation wasn't reasonable, wasn't willing to be on a mature level. Not that they couldn't, not that they weren't providing for my child or anything like that. They were doing the best that they could in their situation. But they were never looking at the bigger picture. If I wasn't in this situation, my family was in this situation. The child was taken care of. The other fathers that you had in your children's life came and went. I can only count on my finger one that actually stuck it out and was actually doing what he was supposed to do. To this day, he still has my respect. The rest of them, we knew you would fly by night. We knew that. You played the game. You won the prize. You moved on. It was just that simple. We seen it. I'm talking to the situation in general, and if you feel like I'm talking directly to you and you hear this conversation, no, it's a general conversation. It may hit you. It may hit home. I'm sorry, but that's how I felt about the situation. I didn't call no names out. I didn't say nobody's name, so don't get heartbroken over the situation. Don't do that. It's not about that. It was more to inform people there's a side that you don't see. Oh, if a guy's on child support, he ain't doing what he's supposed to do. How do you know? How do you know?
From my experience, what I've seen is the guys who are actually being what they're supposed to be as a father to the child. They understood they made a mistake. They're rectifying the mistake and also take care of their child. They're those that get screwed over, not those deadbeats, or not the fly-by operation brothers. The guys who's actually doing the right thing.
There's other guys that are out there. They're put on child support, and they're angry. They're angry. Why'd you do this to me? You need to take me off. I could barely get to work. I don't even have a good paycheck. Are you still planning to be in the child's life? I mean, if not, cough up the money. I mean, it's one or the other. It's one or the other. You can't have it both ways, bro.
Yeah, we got to speak about that too, because a lot of guys who think like that. Since you're getting screwed in child support, you end up screwing your child. You're not this is because you like the fact that your money's been taken out of your pocket. Maybe like the female who told me, maybe you should have wrapped it up. Maybe you should have pulled out. Maybe you didn't have sex with her in the first place. That's not the one you plan on marrying. You know we talk about the women's side of it, but we got to speak of the man's side of it too, because there's a lot of that going on too. Because you're angry, you're in your feelings that you've been taking the child support, then you don't want to take care of the child.
Right.
The child's not responsible. The child is not responsible of your decision making. It is a consequence of your decision making.
Right.
So deal with it.
It is.
And those aren't men. Those people that we're talking about aren't men. And I said it. Come see me. I said it. Those aren't men. If you're complaining about your dollar, number one, once again, you made that choice.
Right.
It's a blessing to have that kid. Right. So if you are just mad about $1, I'm sorry, I don't make more money, bro. Get another job. work harder, do some overtime, hustle, do whatever you have to do. It should be about the child. All of this. And just like women make bad choices, fellas, you're making bad choices. If you know you do not want to be a parent, you do not want to take that responsibility, it's rough raising a puppy. Nevertheless, a whole human being. So if you make that choice, and that's what you're doing. If you're having sex unprotected, if you're just doing all the things, you're making that choice. You're saying, I'm cool with that decision. It's called implied consent. So you're saying, I'm cool with whatever happens because I'm not gonna take any responsibility for myself. And if you don't want to be a part of it, ladies, take it all. I don't care. And I don't think a real man, he's not in that child's life. He doesn't want to be there for the child. Take it all. I don't care. And you can eat beans, sir. I don't care. This is specifically
ramen noodles.
Men and women who are being abused by the system and who are abusing the system. So I think it's two different categories, because if you're out there and you're just acting like this kid doesn't exist and she gets you, in the words of Nelson from The Simpsons, I don't care.
Right.
You got you.
So let me ask you guys a question. We talk about depriving the ability for a man to see his child. What extent would the females go if you know anyone who had an experience or you experienced it? What extent would these females go to deprive the men of seeing that child?
I haven't had that problem because I've made great choices thus far. With who I'm with, every ex I'm cool with. Current situation I'm good with. I always think with this first. That's number one. I always tell, if you're about to make a decision, go rub one out. If you're like a little man, make the decision, go rub one out and come back and see if you still want to do that decision. That's literally saved my life. And I ain't got no condoms, you ready to go. Give me 5 minutes. And I come back, I'm like, I don't even want to do this. I'm going to go ahead and go home. You know, it's strategies at this stage. We're playing chess, not checkers in life. We had, and some of these people are playing Connect 4. They're not even playing checkers. Let's be honest. There's strategies to this thing. And I'm like, educate yourself, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if you do this, you're going to be in a system for 18 to 23 years. That sounds like a jail sentence to me. And I'm not built for it. I'm not built to do a bid. Any child that comes from my loins is a child that's been welcomed and that I am ready to be 100% committed and raised to that child. Now, I understand some of us made this decision when we're young. It was a mistake, and that's cool. We make mistakes. But what you can't do is sit there and sit in your mistake, because it's only a mistake if you sit in it. Learn from it and improve your situation.
Exactly. Definitely. This is a great conversation we're having about this. And this is something, like I said, I've been wanting to do this for 2 years. And now we finally have the conversation, real conversation. And I want to say something for the females. I'm going to say something on behalf of the females. This is a question on behalf of the females. Because we have certain mothers who do a great job raising their child on their own.
Yes.
And they take it upon themselves to be like, oh, I don't need nothing from the man for my child. I'll take care of all myself. My question to the both of you is that fair? Is that necessary for that woman to do that, to show her motherhood per se, that she can do all on her own? Does she deprive? Is it right for her to deprive herself of that child support from the father, based on that mentality?
So if it's financially, I'm always like this. If you like it, I love it. If you were to say, I got all of it, because how many men have done that in history? I got the whole household. Cool. Equal opportunity. I believe every woman is equal to man and can do everything a man can do. I have no problem with that. I'm a feminist to the core. I got 16 aunts on both sides. It's like, I love women. I respect women. I don't really rock with you. So if that's what you want to do, by all, but what you can't do is deprive that man from the child's life, because it's not the same. Raising a child and paying for a child are not the same.
Right.
They're not the same. Right. I always tell people, once again, look how many rich kids are messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Messed up.
You could go back. You could go back further than that.
Go
back further than that.
I mean, you can go back. You can go back until the beginning of the time. Frankly,
I mean, I'll put it out there like this: during slavery, a lot of the children were being raised by the slaves.
Absolutely.
When slavery was over, who were they being raised by? Because the parents didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Look,
just like you were talking about, just like you were talking about generational curse, their generational curse has passed on, and you see the ramifications of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We were talking about how it affects families and households and things of that nature. It's present, but people don't want to recognize it.
Yeah, because that's one thing about America. America likes to edit her history. She edits things. And to the bit that goes to spoil, to the bit that I always say, that's why it's called history, because it's his story. Whoever wins gets to tell the story of what happened. It's like if you win a fight, the fight might get a little bit better than what really happened. You know, I remember I got in a fight back in the day, and they were like, yo, Sean whooped him up. Well, the truth was I slipped in the bathroom, my fist just happened to hit him, and it looked like I did some Kung Fu stuff. But in reality, I slipped and knocked the dude out in error. But let me tell you, when I got out of the bathroom, oh man, yeah, so I was watching Steven Seagal and this happened. That's America. That's America's story. We came over. I remember growing up and literally thinking that when the Pilgrims came over, that Native Americans were sitting there with cornucopias to teach them how to. That was literally in the history books. And I'm 40. Mm-hmm. I'm not old. That was literally in my history books. And it wasn't until I went to HBCU that I was like, oh, snap. So like you said, we have our generational curses. They have their generational curses.
Yeah.
That's why they're shooting up schools. You don't see us doing it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
You don't see us doing it. You know, we might do a cookout, but we don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
It's in our nature to behave.
We know consequences. That's why we don't storm capitals. We don't storm capitals.
I didn't want to say it.
Hey, you said we're raw. I'm raw. We were literally looking at home on CNN like, they're not dead yet?
Right.
No.
Where they do that at?
I just knew that they were going to drop a bomb on them. I was like, oh, this is it for DC. It's a wrap. No more mambo sauce for me. It's a wrap. And
somebody get this popcorn. I'm ready.
I'm literally sitting there. I'm like, helmet on. Okay.
Listen, they had rubber bullets for them. But if it was us, it would have been real bullets, hollow points.
Look, they didn't even have rubber bullets. Some of those videos I saw, I literally saw a man open the door talking about being a gentleman. He was the finest gentleman. He's like, thank you for the treachery. And just let her out for treason. And they're, but that's a whole nother episode. But
whole nother episode. Absolutely. But the reason for that question is I feel that
it's okay.
I feel that the females those females who act like that leaves the door open for them to come in as he please. Yeah. To be a father. If I'm gonna handle this, I don't really need him to take care of me and nothing like that. You're allowing that man. See, the problem with women don't see no sense. The man will continue to do what you allow him to do. You keep allowing him to get away with shit, he's gonna come in like the revolving door whenever he feels like it.
I'm gonna use the point that he made earlier though. It comes back to what they were raised in. If that was the norm, who are we to say that's wrong? That's the norm that you know. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you want to break the cycle and everything like that and utilize examples of better relationships and things like that. But if they don't know no better, they're going to continue down that. They're going to continue doing what they've saw because it's comfortable. It's convenient. It's known.
And it's a dual-edged sword because I always say a smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from others. So you may not have had the best home system around you, And I know this is a dirty game. It is not built for us to win. That is fact.
Right.
But as many horror stories that we have, there's a million beautiful stories of people that have made it out, roses from the concrete. So you can't, at some point, you have to say, all right, I may have some responsibility in some of these choices I made. Yes, I go to a school where the book's from 1973 and it still says Jimmy Carter is the president. But I still could have opened that book and passed the test.
Right.
It's a choice that we make. Yes, I didn't have dad around, but when this mentor at the boys club offered me to come, I should have took him up on that.
True.
There's always choices. Yes, the game is rigged. There's no doubt about that. Yes, if you're a brown or black person in this country, you're born with 2 strikes against you. Yes, but it's not 3 strikes, baby. It's 3 strikes before you're out. So you have to make a decision. We have to stop and sit in ourselves and say, we've made these decisions to get there. And then once we learn from those, we can get in the system and then we change it to get rid of the system that's ruined us. But it's a dirty game. You just have to start and say, when you're born with this, there's going to be some good things and some bad things. You're going to season your food. You're going to be able to catch the 1s and 3s on the beat.
Right.
You might not have the best credit score. You might get beat up by a cop. So there's pros and cons to this black life in America. But I always say there's more pros than cons. We just have to sit in our decisions and say, hey, I can learn from my mistakes just as much as I can learn, or I can learn from others' mistakes just as much as I can learn from mine. I've never smoked crack in my life. You know why? Because I saw a dude that said he has no teeth. It's good enough for me. Didn't have to try it. Didn't have to try it. I said, eating corn for this gentleman is extremely hard. I love corn. It was enough for me. So we have to make those decisions.
When you talk about crack, I always see the picture of Pookie from New Jack City.
Yeah.
It's calling me.
Man.
Oh my goodness. But fellas, this has been a great podcast. You know, I wish we could continue more. Whether or not we have a part 3 to the child support is another situation. Maybe
I'm pretty sure.
But we got to get the females in here, because a lot of females, we asked them to come on a True Players podcast. They run and hide because they're afraid of the thunder that we bring to the table. And if we bring the thunder, you bring the thunder, it's okay. It's all love. As long as we're being honest with each other and having a full, at least having a correct dialogue, not the fake dialogue that we search, that a lot of people deal with in their lives and this, that, and the other. But yeah, so what do you got? Who wants to go first on the last words of the podcast?
I'll let you go, brother.
Okay. I'm just gonna say that it's always welcome to hear the female's point of view in this situation. I welcome it. You know what I'm saying? We're not out here to bash you at all. What is needing is a sit down, a conversation at the table, and see both points of views. There's some things that you don't see on this end, and there's some things that we don't see on your end. But if we're able to talk about it, then we'll have a better perspective walking away from the conversation. But to sit there and say, oh, well, you're going to be this way and I'm going to be that way. Look at the world around you. You see how that went. Unless 45 put it out there and that's the way it was, so people just stayed in their corners. I don't want to get too involved. Let's put it on the table. Let's talk about it. Stop being scared about the conversation. It's not going to hurt nobody to have a conversation. Yes, we're going to yell. Yes, we're going to scream. We may even go back and forth. But at the end of the day, there'll be some type of resolve. It's needed. It's needed. Because there's a lot of things that are passed over. There's a lot of things that people don't even think about. And there's a lot of on both sides, both people are being taken advantage of just because they're fighting each other.
Yes.
Now, if you were co-parenting and you were both on the same page, the child would be provided for, and there would be no need for a child support system. Period. you ask for another tax system to take money from somebody else that you and that person could have had some formal agreement. Back in the days, you know what they had? Brothers, fathers, uncles, cousins. That was child support. Give me that shit. That's what that was about back in the day. Now you want to go to a government or whatever, some kind of credit thing that's going to take money from you. Who says they're supposed to give you money? Their money. They deboed the shit. My money. Well, my mama gave me that chain. I don't give a fuck.
Oh man.
Plain and simple. I would love to have conversations with the females out there on this conversation. I want a child support 3. Bring it. Come into the conversation. Let's get it. This was just one side of the coin on the situation. Wanted to give you a point of view that you may have not seen. I gave you a little piece of my background going through the situation. Hopefully, you can understand the situation and see how to work it out with your partner or whatever the case may be, and make more informed decisions. Till next time, you know where I am.
There you go. All right, Sean.
Thank you both, number one, for having me, man. I had a blast. I enjoyed this conversation. Ladies, please come forth. Present your case. We would love to hear from you. An open dialogue is something that is needed, period. Because we're not enemies. We're on the same side.
Right.
We're on the same side. And the same side should be the side of the kid. At the end of the day, we need to, I don't care if he broke your heart and he cheated on you with your best friend. I don't care if he's a poop butt and he's never done that. He may be a terrible boyfriend and the best father in the world. He may be a terrible husband and the best father in the world. It's not mutually exclusive.
Right.
We can be both. And I think that's what, unfortunately, the story is that the Prince Charming is going to come in, he's going to give me a ring, and he's going to put the shit. It's not like that all the time. No. Sometimes the story is, it's just a Prince impersonator, and he's not going to give you the ring. He's going to give you the ringworm. That may happen, but he still may be a great father. So if you have a significant other, ex, whatever, that wants to be in the child's life, you're only hurting the child. And any real mom puts their child above themselves or anything else. I know my mom, it was about her children. If she had to go barefoot, she's going barefoot, but we're going to have J's on, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that you have to go to that extent, but if you have a man in your life that wants to be in the child's life, you bet not fit your face to hinder that man's relationship. I don't care what he did, because it's not mutually exclusive.
Facts. Thank you for that, Sean. Thank you for that, Joey G. I'm gonna end it like this. You know, child support is a choice. Why it's a choice? Is because it should be between a conversation amongst two people. When the choice happens that you want to use an arbiter or someone of arbitrary nature to solve your problem that you could have grown up and spoken to each other as adults, you create a whole lot of issues for both sides of the fence. And just be mindful who you deal with be mindful who you deal with. Be mindful who you date. Be mindful who you marry. If you see a man who has 7 kids by 7 different baby mamas and you get caught up in the matrix, don't blame the man for that. Blame yourself for that. That was a big red flag. The same thing for the guys. If you date a female who got 3, 4, 5, 6 kids by more than one father or more than 2 fathers, that's a red flag. Maybe you shouldn't entertain that situation. Not saying all women are bad like that, but they got caught up in bad decision making. Bad things happen. That does happen. But always be mindful of your decision making. And that's the most important thing. And remember, communicate. We are not mind readers. Yep. Communicate. Open your mouth. Don't throw subs on Facebook. Don't throw subs on Instagram. Don't throw subs on Twitter, because that's not conversation. It's just animosity, and it just grows and keeps growing, And on that note, I hope to bless you guys with the. I got a lot to talk about the True Players podcast with the Bucks winning in 6 games, NBA champion. I don't know if I'll be able to get another episode in tonight with regards to that. I would love to, actually. But I'm gonna talk about that. You will have that episode real soon. You can listen to the True Players podcast at Anchor, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeart Radio. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at True Players Podcast. Just search True Players Podcast and subscribe to the channel with all our content. I want to thank Sean for joining me with Down and Den Podcast. I hope to also be a guest on your podcast as well.
Yes,
and we can talk about we could chop it up. And I'm Joey G, of course, my brother from another mother, 35 years plus a friendship here. You know what I'm saying? Being convo and family, representing the podcast. And what can I say, fellas? It's your man Big Dom signing off this podcast. Peace.